Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to this amazing panel today. My name is Ashton Jackson. I'm an associate reporter at CNBC Make It, and I'm also at NBCU Academy Embed. And today we're discussing several topics related to launching your media career, from resumes to networking to making the most of professional opportunities. But first, please make sure you sign up for our talent community through the link in the chat. And really quickly, if you have any questions during the panel, please be sure to put them in the Q&A box that is under all of our faces, not the chat box, but the Q&A box specifically. And we'll go ahead and kick off today's panel with a quick video showing what NBCUniversal is all about.
You are a superstar.
Put on your seatbelt, Sophia. I'm ready.
That feels good.
Now we're talking. Oh my God!
That's good.
You're an alien. Phone home. Get me the sheriff.
I need all hands on deck.
Do you ever think all that would lead you here?
That's just beginning.
So guess what happens next?
You want to see something cool?
Greatest event in live entertainment.
You put my stuff in Jello again.
Oh, come on.
You've got to be kidding me. What the hell is my life?
I've tried out for the Housewives like 8 times.
Finally, you're learning how to live.
Don't mess it up.
The looks will be legendary.
Why do they always have to go bigger?
Don't want to cross me. Yeah, no.
Our team is in place with the very latest.
The team that we have is an extraordinary gift. So let's start with some good news.
You could not script it any better. Breaking news to tell you about unfolding late this afternoon.
The stakes are huge. It's going to affect everybody. We need to keep moving forward.
You think we'll see that again in our lifetime?
Shark Tank's back in business. Back for more, are you?
We turn their whole life upside down.
Yeah, we bad. Booyah! They're off in the Kentucky Derby. Unbelievable! The Cup Series champion. Manchester City are the Premier League champions. Let the celebration begin!
I understand congratulations are in order.
So good.
Let's have a little fun with this.
That pretty much sums it up.
Super cool video. I'm pumped up at the moment, but now that you guys have got a glimpse into the NBCUniversal culture, we're going to go ahead and do some quick introductions of our panelists, and I'll go ahead and start with Nicole.
Hi, everyone. I am Nicole Goolsby. I'm one of our recruiters here with NBC Sports.
And let's go to Ayana.
Hi, my name is Ayana Clark. I am a local news producer at NBC 10 in Philadelphia.
And finally, Tara.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tara Morgan. I'm a principal recruiter with our early careers team, focusing on the NBCU News Group.
Absolutely. And before we dive into the meat of today's panel, we do all just want to give you a little glimpse of our background and our career journeys before we get started. I graduated from North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, the biggest and baddest public HBCU in the land. So I wear my Aggie pride very proudly. I graduated, like I said, in May 2021 with my bachelor's in journalism and mass communications. And from there, I got my first, big internship in media at Sony Pictures Entertainment, where I was helping develop drama TV series over there, such as Cobra Kai, Them, The Boys. So some pretty cool shows over there. But I specifically got my start in news and journalism through the NBCU Academy Embed program, which is a 2-year immersive journalism program where they took 6 graduates from NBCU Academy partner schools, and they placed us within different verticals within NBCUniversal to go ahead and get some real world newsroom experience. The first year is virtual and the second year is in person. So I moved from North Carolina to Jersey City, and I work in New York, and it's just been a really amazing experience. And though the Embed program is 2 years, I recently just started a new role as associate reporter at CNBC Make It. So I'm super excited about that opportunity and to go ahead and tell you guys a little bit more about the company. Ayana, can you go ahead and share a bit about your personal journey?
Sure. I graduated from Temple University in 2018. I had a bachelor's in media studies and production. While I was at Temple, I started college a little early. I was 17, so my first internship was at NBC 10 when I was 18. And I interned at Channel 10, Comcast Sportsnet, which is now NBC Sports Philadelphia. And then when I graduated, I moved to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where I was a weekend news producer. From there, I moved up the ladder to, Monday through Friday, the whole nine. And then went to NBC Boston, where I was a news producer there for about 10 months. And then an opportunity opened up in my hometown in Philadelphia. So that's where I am now. And next week will be 1 year at NBC 10. So.
Amazing. I'm glad you got to go ahead and return home to Philly as always. Yeah. I love Philly. Such a great city. I'll go ahead to Nicole.
Yeah, so I actually went to Temple as well. So definitely love to see fellow Owls. But I'm originally from Maryland and, went to Temple, actually started in nonprofits. So worked for American Red Cross. And I always knew I was passionate kind of within the HR and corporate space. And from there, kind of went to work for a local PBS station. And so that was kind of my intro into the media space. Kind of fell into it and saw an opportunity at NBC, one in DC and one in New York, applied to both and got the one in New York. So packed all my things and made that trip up to 30 Rock and, started my career there and been with NBC for 6.5 years, started as a coordinator, became an early career recruiter, and now a full cycle recruiter with NBC Sports. So been in a couple different businesses itself, but has been a great journey so far for 6.5 years.
Absolutely. Temple is definitely representing, and I'm so happy to hear that you've been able to have that career longevity here at NBCUniversal. And Tara, we'll finish off with you.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in North Carolina, went to the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, communication studies major, did some internships within the recruiting space in college, and did an internship at the Walt Disney Company, which is where I started my career after I graduated. Worked in the early career space. So that kind of launched my love of working with students. After a couple of years of living in Orlando after college, I decided I wanted to try living in a bigger city. So I decided to move to New York. I worked in the fashion industry for a few years, doing more of an HR and recruiting role, but really, really missed working specifically with students and working in the entertainment industry. So decided to apply for NBCUniversal, got this job almost 4 years ago, and have loved working for the company and specifically within the news space for the past few years.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your career journey with us. This is super great. And we're just going to go ahead and dive into the basics. Oftentimes, getting started is the hardest part of beginning your career in the media industry. But it all starts with a resume, of course. It's the first thing that people see when they think of you, and it's basically your story on a piece of paper. So Nicole and Tara, what advice do you have for everyone when it comes to resumes? And outside of a resume, how can people stand out in these very competitive opportunities?
Yeah, and I'll kind of kick things off. Just like you said, your resume is truly just your story. And so with that, a lot of people don't know it on average takes a recruiter about probably 6 seconds to actually look at your resume. And so with that, it really looking and developing your resume just to give tips out and say like, hey, how do I make myself stand out in that 6 seconds? And so with that, we want to just give you guys some guidelines. We know there's a lot of opinions and, how your resume should look and feel. But again, want to just give you these brief guidelines to kind of help you craft your resume. So starting off with education, more so just looking for really your graduation date. It really helps us to figure out, should we be considering you for internships or, more so looking at full-time opportunities and, just lets us know a little bit of what you're interested in as well. And then skills, very important. I think sometimes this gets missed on some of the resumes, but really your skills showcase a lot of those different tools, systems, maybe languages that, you might not have utilized in a school setting or professional setting, but things that you can bring to the table into any opportunity as well. So making sure you put that in there and including as well. experience, really the bread and butter of all resumes. And experience looks and feels different in a lot of ways. So that is whether it's a part-time opportunity, whether it is an internship, whether it is, working at your local ice cream place. Your experience is relevant. I say all experience is good experience. So just making sure you build that out with a couple bullet points, being concise about what you were able to do and highlighting some, key things there as well. Then we have school projects, especially for those who are still in school or early career, getting ready to graduate or just recently graduated. Sometimes you don't have that opportunity to gain that internship or part-time job. Your school projects actually are just as valuable. And so, whether you've done and written a really well-written paper, whether you are, certainly building certain things within the technology space, we want to see it. We want to hear about it. Again, we look at your resume holistically at the whole paper. And then, to round it up, organization and community service, again, experience comes in different forms, but showing, sometimes being able to go and be a part of that media organization on your campus, being a part of NABJ, being a part of, your local church, all that is experience as well that we look at and, things that you should be including. And I know we didn't write it on here, but last but not least, your contact information. Please make sure you put it on there. If we see it, we want to reach out to you, make it accessible as well. And then certainly just, to also shape in and say, hey, all the things you should include. Here are also just some key tips of things we think, again, it varies, but should not include as well. So one being high school information, especially for those who are probably junior and seniors, a little further into your college career, or those who have acquired a lot of great, experience. Making space and room to put that on there and build that out. We like to see it. And we know as you continue to grow, you acquire new experience and skills, and your resume will continue to grow with you as well. Headshots and unnecessary personal details, while as enticing as they are, we, free up some of that space. Like I said, we are really looking at the experience that you bring and, want to hone in on that side of house. More than one page. I know this is probably more subjective, but you'll hear a lot of recruiters, especially for those who are early in your career, probably have not accumulated that many things to put into a whole 3-page resume. So, we like to say to keep it concise and up to 1 page, really you can put a lot of years worth of experience just on 1 page alone. Portfolios. So link it. I think a lot of the work that you guys do, whether it's creative pieces, whether it is articles you've written, we want to see it, but please do not attach a 20-page PDF to us as recruiters. Like I said before, we on average take about 6 seconds to look through, and that 20 pages, it is going to be something that we're going to be like, oh my gosh. But, definitely it is something we'll request. If you link it, we'll definitely look at your links as well. And obviously you can put more things on your websites. And then references, again, you don't have to tell us, upon request, we know, and we'll ask you if we need it and come to that stage. So again, free up that space. Definitely something, like I said, these are just some tips on how to continue to build pulling things in and pulling things out of your resume as well. And so we talked about all these great things and opportunities. So we'll pass it over to Tara to tell you about how to take your resume to that next level and looking for opportunities to apply to.
Thanks, Nicole. I am so excited to be able to talk to you about our internship program that we have at NBCUniversal. Just to briefly give you an overview, as I know many of you are students, we do host internships at NBCUniversal 3 times per year, so spring, summer, and fall seasons. Fall and spring are part-time internships. We know you all are in school and have other responsibilities, so interns typically work around 20 hours per week during the fall and spring semesters. And summer internships are full-time opportunities at 40 hours per week. Just to give you a snapshot into our timeline of where we are right now, the next season we're going to be recruiting for is our fall 2023 semester. Those applications will be posted in late May. So definitely be on the lookout. We'll share our career site to look out for those opportunities. Each of these semesters we host over 500 interns. So there are a lot of opportunities within NBC Universal to intern with us. So the only requirements are that you're actively enrolled in a degree granting program at the time of the internship, that you're at least a sophomore or above in class standing, so you have at least 30 credit hours, and you must be authorized to work in the US without visa sponsorship by NBC. So next, I'll tell you a little bit about what it's like to actually be an NBC intern. So we offer really robust professional development and networking opportunities. We hold things like resume and interview workshops. We have an executive speaker series. We do lots of fun social events as well to connect with other interns and employees at NBC. We also know that juggling an internship and extracurriculars in school can be really tough. So we provide our interns paid days off for things that you need to focus on. We also make sure that you're set up completely from a technology perspective and that you're able to thrive there. So we provide every intern with an NBCUniversal laptop, and then I'll also offer reimbursement expenses for work from home expenses. And then just wanted to call out that 40% of our interns do continue into another internship with NBCUniversal. So whether that be staying with the same team that you've been interning with for another semester, or moving to a different team within the same business, or jumping to a new business entirely. You have many businesses under our umbrella, like film, entertainment, sports, news, etc. And we have interns that jump around and get experience in all of those businesses. So it's just a really great way to build on the depth of experience and take on more responsibility to prepare you for that career.
Yeah. And Tara, quick follow-up question.
Yeah.
To cut you off. There's a question in the chat.
Sure.
If we go back maybe to the first slide, is it too late to apply for the summer internship? What does that application period currently look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So our enterprise-wide summer internship applications did close in the beginning of February. So those applications are no longer open. However, there are a few internships under the NBCUniversal umbrella that my team specifically doesn't recruit for, like DreamWorks, some local stations that recruit for their own internships. So if you go to our career site, you may still see some summer internships posted. So if you are interested, I would highly recommend to apply as soon as possible to those. They can come down at any point once they have enough applicants. So if you are interested and you're still looking to apply for a summer internship, apply to those as soon as possible. Thanks, Ashton. And then also just want to highlight here, these are specifically our more journalism focused areas for internships and post-grad opportunities. Here, you might want to take a screenshot or a picture of this. Our light blue text on the screen is going to be our internship opportunities. And then that purple text is going to be our postgraduate opportunities. So we have, as you can see, sports groups, CNBC, MSNBC News, local stations, Telemundo, and then all of the locations that are typically seen for those internships and postgrad programs are also listed there. So definitely wanted to highlight those, but you can explore more on our career site. And then lastly, just want to highlight some tips when applying to any job opportunity, even if it's not for NBC or internships. Really want to spend some time on your materials. You're likely to get more traction if you spend time on those application materials. And like I said, do not wait until the last minute to apply. What might make sense to you might not land with other people. So make sure you're getting a lot of like colleagues, friends, mentors to look over your resumes. It's definitely hard to get feedback on something as personal as a resume sometimes, but doing so will really set you apart. And then next, focus on your strengths. Find a way to focus on what you bring to the table. You can learn transferable skills anywhere, like Nicole mentioned, working at an ice cream shop. Really think about those core skills that you learned and the core responsibilities that you held in each work experience or extracurricular opportunity that you've had, and focus on the skills that you bring to the table and really have an example to share for each one. Be intentional also with your applications. Don't apply to just anything and everything. Really think about the type of work that you want to get more experience in and exposure to, and then apply for those opportunities. This is definitely a time to explore other interests you may have, but it's also important to think about creating depth of experience as you approach that full-time job search upon graduation. So don't apply to anything that you wouldn't accept an offer for. And then lastly, network wisely. You'll really want to use this to find out more about the work that you're interested in from your colleagues and your peers. A lot of people think networking is only looking up, but networking is also looking side to side. So the students in this call, the students on your campus, the people that you work with now are going to be your future colleagues. So help each other out. The more you can authentically form relationships when networking, the easier it is to really maintain that connection. So I could talk about this all day long, but I'll keep it moving and throw it back to Ashton to continue our conversation.
Thanks so much, Tara and Nicole. And I really just want to stress you guys that these tips are super, super helpful and they really work. Before even getting on this panel, I had a session with Tara and the other embeds, and we went through different things that we can do as far as resumes and applications. And those tips and tricks are what helped me get this new role as associate reporter. So really take this seriously and really just take heed to these small things that you can do to really help make a difference in your job search. And Ayana, we do want to hear from you as well. As you've progressed through your career, what have you tried to highlight on your resume and even on your reel?
Yeah, so I've tried to highlight, honestly, anything and everything, because you never know what is going to be important to the person who's hiring you, or just little tiny things that you guys might have in common. I can't tell you how many interviews I've had where we've gone on a tangent about something completely irrelevant to what was necessarily on my resume, just because maybe it was in my reel, and it really highlights the experiences that I have. For example, in college, when the NFL draft was in Philadelphia, we did a live show from out there for our college show. And my news director, who wasn't necessarily interested in sports, she was really interested in everything that we were able to showcase and what we were able to do. So don't necessarily think that the things on your resume aren't interesting. It's interesting to someone.
And when it comes to a reel for someone who's in college or very early career and doesn't have that much work experience, what do you recommend they include in that?
Yeah, I think I would say make sure you put your best foot forward. Don't be scared to put the biggest thing that you've done first, and keep it tight as well. The average person, they look at the resume for 6 seconds. The reel is pretty much the same. You want to wow someone in the very beginning. So put the best writing, the best visuals. If you have something that is very good writing and very good visuals, that's even better to put at the beginning. So I would just say put the best of the best first.
Super great advice. I think a theme that we're seeing here is like time is money. We got to get to the point really quickly. So thank you for that insight. And Ayana, just a final question for you before we move on to how to make the most of an opportunity. You mentioned that your journey started as an intern and then a PA and then back at NBC as a news producer. So, I mean, what should everyone try and take away from an internship at the end of the day?
I think at an internship, first and foremost, do everything and anything. I knew that I wanted to be a producer when I was in my internship, but that didn't stop me from latching on to reporters, going out in the field with them, because now I have a better understanding as a producer what a reporter's day looks like. So that helps me in my job every single day. Ask questions. I cannot stress that enough. You need to ask as many questions as you can, even if you think you are, bothering the person who you're talking to. You need to ask those questions because you don't want to walk away from the conversation wishing that you had just a little bit more knowledge on something. And I would say keep in contact with everyone you come in contact with, even if it's just, saying after a 5-minute conversation, can I have your business card? And you email them later and say, thank you so much for, taking the time to talk to me. People remember that. And that is one of the ways that, I got the job that I have today. An executive producer at NBC 10, who I met when I was 18, knew that I wanted to come back home to Philly eventually. I was told, go out, get some experience and come back and we'll hire you. And when an opportunity came up, I didn't even reach out to him. He emailed me and said, hey, this is something that we'd be interested in you working with us. And so now I'm here. So yeah, ask questions, latch on, make relationships, do all that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ayana. And I do have just a quick follow-up for Tara and Nicole around this same thing. Have you guys had any internship experience where it wasn't in the field that you wanted to be in, but you kind of honed in those skills and it worked out in the end?
I mean, I would say I've had internship experience within the HR field, but all in different industries. So, being able to flex and pivot, and I think that, really does transfer over to the broadcast media space, because sometimes you don't have to be, at the big, large name to make impacts and waves and differences. Sometimes it is being at, a local station, or it is being at, somewhere that, maybe start up, because all that experience, does transfer over. And it's really great. Like Ayana said, just be curious and build those relationships, because you never know where they will take you.
Yeah, I did an internship in marketing in college. It was when I was just like a floundering communications student who didn't know what I wanted to do. Still don't some days, so that's okay too. But yeah, I did an internship in marketing, and I realized it was not for me. But that's kind of the whole point of internships. You learn what you like, and then sometimes you learn what you don't like. It's all equally valuable. I'm glad I didn't start a career in marketing without knowing that was something I didn't want to do. So that's why it is important to get internship experience in all different types of areas, to try it out before you graduate. If you get an offer and you're like, oh, this sounds like something I wouldn't love, try it anyway. It's usually only 10 weeks, 14 weeks. You're going to get great experience, and I promise you will always take away something from every single opportunity.
Absolutely. Everything is definitely a teachable moment, and you can just milk out the things that can really help boost your career. And this takes us to our next topic. Nicole, I'll go back to you. Thinking of something like the Olympics, which seems so far away, but I know that you guys are working on this now. Paris is on the horizon. There will be opportunities for people to get experience at a major event. So how do you make the most of these big experiences, and what elevates someone to continue to advance to working on the Olympics at NBC?
I know it's kind of crazy to think Paris is more than a year out, and we're already, talking, planning, having a chance to hopefully roll out some opportunities, sometime soon. And so, to make the most of the opportunity, very similar, be a sponge. Be curious, soak up all of the information. You're going to be learning some new skills and working with some systems, working with some great talented, people on the back end, whether there are producers, whether they are, any one of our coordinators. Just everyone is, really just excited to be there and wants you to be, just as excited too. In that same account, be accountable. It is an exciting time, but it is also a lot of a lift to do the Olympics. It is not a small feat. And so, to stand out, not just being excited and passionate, but also being able to show up and doing your job, to the best of your ability. And, it's great that you want to learn and, network here and there, but also, doing your job and making sure you're doing a stellar job at that first and foremost. And then I mentioned networking, always key. You are here with us, and you have access to a plethora of people within our NBCUniversal organization. And so with that, definitely take advantage of building those relationships, starting to have those conversations, so that you don't just walk away, with great skills that you acquired, but also some great people that you can continue having and building those relationships with. And that's, more than your manager, your teams, that is also your peers, and everyone, around you as well.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. I, for one, my first job was at McDonald's, which is so crazy to think about now, but I still keep in touch with my manager, who now owns a McDonald's franchise. So keeping in touch with people you never really know, like what heights they'll reach and what heights you'll reach, and how you guys will be able to kind of bounce off of each other in that way. And speaking of first jobs, Ayana, when you got your first job, how did you try to maximize that opportunity?
So I would say it goes back to what I said before, latching on to whoever you can, even though it was a market where, a lot of people had just graduated college. There were people who had been in the business for a very long time at my station, even my news director, who was from Jersey. So we were able to connect on that level. So that personal connection really helped us in the job as well. And I still speak to her to this day. Also understanding that you don't know everything is so important, because when I think that I didn't think I knew everything, but I thought that maybe I was a little bit better than I was, and I got a quick reality check. Even though, my internships and school and everything really did help me to in the first job, you have to understand that every day is still a learning experience. I'm still learning on the job every single day. And that starts with building relationships with people, including like my anchors. They were pivotal in, helping me to learn the job and understand how a show moves and how things flow and everything like that. What's important to the people in the community, those types of things. So yeah, I never stopped learning. And I think Nicole can attest to this too. Like Temple people have a saying, like owls are everywhere. I started my job and one of the reporters was actually a Temple graduate. He graduated the year before I did. So that was another big connection. And, talking to other people who were also in the field who graduated with me, but maybe we're at a different station in a different part of the country, bouncing ideas off of them, asking them about their experiences because we were all going through the same thing. So I think like the core part of it, like I said, the asking questions and networking, all those things, those will really help. And you'll see how much it benefits you in the long run.
Amazing, amazing advice, Ayana. And I mean, same question kind of to Tara and Nicole to kind of bounce off of that. What one piece of advice would you give everyone here for when they land that first opportunity?
Sure. I would say once you land your first opportunity, wherever it may be, really focus on getting involved. Of course, when you land your first job, you want to get immersed in your role and your team, but also don't forget to immerse yourself in the company and that all it has to offer as well. We have a lot of what we call employee resource groups or ERGs at NBC, and they're a great way to get involved and meet other people and networking. So my advice would be don't stop networking once you get the job.
And mine, definitely goes with the theme, be curious and be confident. Continue to ask questions, this is a space for you to learn and grow in your first job, but also you add value wherever you go. And remember that. So be confident, take up space, pitch those ideas. You bring such fresh perspective and never forget that.
I did have one more thing to add to that. Definitely betting on yourself is such a big part of it as well. There are a lot of opportunities that you think that you're not going to get, whether it's experience or age or anything like that. You might think, maybe I'm not qualified or, maybe I don't have enough experience. A lot of people, if you take a chance on yourself and say, I don't have the experience, but here's what I can bring to the table, a lot of people will take that chance on you and you'll end up in places that you didn't think you would.
That's powerful right there. Because if you don't believe in yourself, why should anyone else believe in you? That's something that I had to learn dealing with imposter syndrome very early on in my career and just breaking out of that. So that's really, really great advice. And Tara, I'm also pro employee resource group. We just went to the Islanders game yesterday with the Young People's Network here, Young Professionals Network. So I'm team ERG all the way. And I think some of my biggest advice, which may seem a little niche, but I promise it's super helpful, is just like to write. Even if you're early on in your college career, if you're like trying to get into journalism, like write some more, because I've been told that if you're a great writer, that you'll always have a job in news and in media, whether it's marketing, whether it's production, whether you want to be an anchor or like a multimedia journalist, like just write. It'll take you a really long way. But now that we've got this advice out of the way, I do want to go ahead and navigate into networking and mentorship. And Tara, you've already started us off on this conversation, so I'll kick this off to you. You've talked about your career journeys and provided some helpful tips on how to stand out when looking for that first job, but it's hard to do it alone, honestly. So how important is it to establish good relationships with people who are already in the industry?
Yeah, it's very, very important. I'm sure, as you could tell, for we've all been talking about it so much, but it's so important to build your network, not solely for the reason of it leading to a job, but more for the reason of trying to learn about and get exposure to the industry that you're interested in. So connecting with people who do have a successful career in the media industry already, they can really give you invaluable advice and guidance and really hopefully serve as some sort of a mentor for you in the future.
Amazing advice. And Nicole, I wanted to pass it off to you. Do you have any advice for just establishing good relationships?
Yeah, no, I mean, similar to what Tara said, not just reaching out to say, hey, I'm available and looking for a job, but building those genuine relationships will outlast. And, love, someone said once, tasteful networking. So, the people that you are networking with and building those relationships, they may be busy and may not be able to get right back to you, the next day. But if you are consistent and you are reaching out and saying, hey, I saw that you guys did this great thing. That's awesome. I've been reading about this, or, hey, I just wanted to check in and let you know that I've, been able to do this and that and share those experiences. It becomes more of a dialogue and keeping up with each other than it does become like oh, I'm just here whenever you need me. And, it will take you a long way.
Absolutely. I think that's something that I've learned as well, especially when it comes to like garnering a community of sources for my storytelling. I never want to just reach out to someone one off and never talk to them again just because I need a story. So it's important to just make sure you're cultivating these relationships. So I really love those tips that you guys gave. And Ayana, we're going to toss it back off to you. Did you have anyone who served as a mentor or a guide as you navigated yourself through this career?
Yeah. So I think that first and foremost, his name's Anzio Williams. He's great. He was a news director at NBC 10 when I was an intern there, and now he works with DEI. For NBC Universal, and he's always just been like someone who I can, reach out and just say hi or get career advice. So you want to make sure that your mentors are, you guys have a spectrum. Again, the executive producer who was there when I was an intern, he's the one who reached out to me for the current job that I have right now. So that's another person who really did help me out, and I would not be here if it weren't for those two. And even people who you don't necessarily think would help you in a job, they definitely will, because they're the people who are going to remember you once you get that job. So again, in my internship, I connected with someone on the assignment desk who was also a Temple graduate. So I kind of stuck very close to her. She has gone on to a different station, a different role. But, she sent me an email that I sent her 5 years ago of me just like updating her on my life and what I was doing in college and all those things. So people really do remember who you are if you keep in contact. Again, like Nicole said, it's not always just saying like, hey, I'm available for a job. It's also, getting feedback on the work that you're doing. So if you think you did something really cool, send it to another producer who's in the business and say, hey, what would you do differently? Have somebody look at your reel and say, hi, how would you move this around? What do you think this looks like? Can you compare it to the work you've done and tell me what I can do better or how I can do things differently next time? So just make sure you keep those connections, and not just about work. You can always, if you're in the city or something like that, say, hey, do you want to grab coffee and just talk?
Absolutely. Coffee chats are my vibe these days, especially when we're trying to just like get used to being in the office more and we're trying to make connections and get over our social anxiety of being in the house for 2 years. So I'm here for a coffee chat. And I just want to open this a follow-up question to everyone here. When it comes, we've all heard that you should have a mentor. Mentors are really good for guiding you on your career. But what's the difference between a mentor and a sponsor? And how can someone go about finding these people?
Yeah, and I mean, I can kick it off. I would say, a mentor is definitely someone that you probably will have a little bit more of that personal, intimate conversations, asking for guidance in a lot of different areas. A sponsor is also someone who will know who you are and is probably a little bit higher up in an executive position or a position that, can have influence somewhere. And a sponsor is also, both of them are people who can want to talk about you when you're not in those spaces. You want them to be those people who are going to be advocates for you. But I would say is probably the difference. A sponsor is probably going to be that person who is an advocate at a higher level and able to make kind of some of those influences. And a mentor can also be that, but they are going to build, I would say you probably have a little bit more of that relationship and talking to them about things that are working, maybe not working, and having a little bit more of those intimate conversations.
I love that. I've been told just in my time here that a mentor is someone who is going to like help you and guide you to get into the door, but the sponsor is someone who's going to like speak your name in rooms that you're not even in yet. So really good to just go ahead and cultivate that kind of personal board of directors early on in your career. And another just free for all question for the entire panel. What's the best way to apply for a job or reach out to a connection if you see an opportunity that you're interested in?
Yeah, so I would definitely make sure you are staying on top of looking at career sites. Every company has their own career site and they all work a little bit differently. But on our career site, you can set up job alerts. So you can look at, specifically filtering to businesses that you're interested in or functional areas of interest. And you can set up job alerts. I know I mentioned it before, but applying as soon as possible is so important, especially when it comes to applying to full-time jobs. They're looking to fill that position as quickly as possible. They have a need right now to fill that. So they're posting a job and starting interviews very, very quickly. So you want to apply within ideally the first couple of days that a job is open. So definitely make sure that you're staying on top of it. If you're in a career search and you're looking for a job, you should be looking at career sites every single day and submitting applications every single day. And then it does help to go that extra mile and try and find, people that work in that area on LinkedIn, people that work in that department maybe that you've applied to, send them a message, tell them that you've just applied to that job, give them kind of your LinkedIn elevator pitch, attach your resume. All of that can really go a long way as well. So I'd recommend taking that extra step too.
I actually found my first job on LinkedIn by just looking at the job section and applying to a lot of the stations that had openings there. And I will say, reaching out to people on LinkedIn who are at that station or at that job already is also a good way to reach out to people as well. Also, if you are in an internship, a lot of times people will hire you after the internship. So just asking about those opportunities within the job that you're in is very important as well. Even if it's, just a smaller job, it may not necessarily be the job that you want to end with, but it's a good start and it's good experience.
And I love that you said LinkedIn. I think vice versa. I actually got one of my jobs from someone reaching out to me on LinkedIn. So if you haven't, created a LinkedIn profile, definitely do it. Do it today, do it, after this. And, it's just another tool that we use as recruiters to do, outreach and looking for talent who may not have been looking for us. So, we also, look for you guys and we try to do our best to find talent that aligns to what we're looking for as well. And, just to echo what everyone else is saying, just apply, especially when you see it, because you never know if it's going to come down the next day. And like we said, all those resumes tips that we gave out, make sure that your resume also, feel free to switch things around and make it echo something that is going to be aligning to the jobs that you are applying to.
Absolutely. I'm an advocate for LinkedIn as well. And it's also important just to make sure you're like building out your profiles on these professional social network sites. So it's one thing to have a LinkedIn, but if you don't have a profile picture or your experience or anything that you're working on your profile, I mean, no one knows anything about you. So make sure you just kind of fill out those portions of that LinkedIn page. And also Handshake as well, which is kind of like LinkedIn, but it's specifically for college students in the graduate level, like bachelor's degree level. So that's been really helpful. Handshake helped me get my first internship, and I just really recommend that as well.
I will say about that, just like a short story. My news director for my first job, they flew me to Myrtle Beach to interview. And I got to the airport and she actually drove past me because she said she didn't know exactly what I looked like, because when you're a reporter, you know, you have a reel with your face on it. My reel had other people's faces on it. So, you know, it's important to have a headshot, a good picture on maybe LinkedIn. She didn't look at my LinkedIn account where she would have seen my picture, but, you know, do things to make you to make sure that people know who you are.
Thank you, Ayana. Great real world experience that we all could learn from. And just some quick questions before we head to the ones in the Q&A. Nicole and Tara, if someone's looking to restart their career instead of Kickstart, what advice do you have?
Yeah, so we talked about reshaping your resume, and again, sometimes putting, you know, making sure you are pulling out certain things that are aligning to what you've done that may pivot you to that new career. I think that this case, you know, objective sentences, I know we didn't talk about that, but those are always very useful, especially for anyone who's looking to go from, say, marketing to journalism, and your whole resume reads marketing. Like, it gives us an indication, like, you know, that you're making this pivot over, or what that looks like. And then continuing to just, you know, build skill sets and like we talked about, samples of work just within that space. You know, don't wait for that, getting that job to get that experience. Start building that up yourself, or start learning that tool, whether you are editing on Avid or Premiere, you know, start learning those things yourself and start investing in yourself as well.
And Ayana, if anyone here is thinking about being a producer, you know, what is something about the job that would be shocking to them?
Shocking? I think the biggest thing that I realized was there are so many skills that I use on a day-to-day basis that I didn't think, you know, would translate. Like just being a people person, asking questions, time management, that's huge as a producer. Yeah, I don't think there's anything necessarily too shocking about the job, except for the fact of like how fast paced it is, those types of things. Yeah.
It's super fast paced. That's something that I wasn't prepared for. A couple months back, I shadowed in a newsroom and was in the control room when a show was happening, and it was intense. So that's something I would say.
And I think it's important to, you know, have a very calm demeanor as well, because things can get very intense. But what the second you fly off the handle, everything, you know, can blow up. So I think it's important to trust yourself, have your time management skills, you know, really locked in, and stay calm and collected every day.
For sure. And the intensity, it doesn't last forever. It's like
it's
refreshing when everything's done. It's so cool.
There's something new every day. Like, you know, you can have a bad show. There are days where I try something and it doesn't necessarily land, but, you know, at the end of the day, I have a whole nother day to try it. And that was the best part, again, about being in a smaller market as well. Especially when I was working on weekends, I could, you know, try anything and everything. And if I messed up, then I had the next day. So.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for that insight, Ayana. And Tara, one more for you. How does NBC approach the hiring process, and what should people know going into it that they may not be obvious from a job posting?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll give kind of a overview of what our process looks like on the internship side and then the full-time side. Internship side, like many companies, you apply and then the next step may be a recorded video interview. So I know a lot of candidates may have experienced this with other companies, but this is becoming more and more common. So it's good to get used to using these sorts of tools, as I think they're going to be used much, much more in the future. So that's usually the first step in the process. And then the last and second step is meeting with the actual team, usually through a video call that you would be working with and interning with before an offer is made. Similarly, on the full-time side, you submit your application. The next step is usually, if you're moving along, hearing from a recruiter and doing what they call a phone screen, which is actually speaking with a recruiter and hearing more about the job, and them asking you a few questions to learn more about you. And then the next steps would be however many interviews, actually speaking with the team that you'd be working with in this position. And then what was the second part of the question, Ashton?
Second part of the question was, I mean, you answered it pretty much, but what should people know going into the hiring process that may not be obvious from the job posting?
Okay, yeah. Definitely, we put as much as we can in the job description. We want to condense it as much as possible to make it readable, of course, for applicants. So we'll put the basic requirements and, where the location is and things like that, what we're looking for, the day-to-day, responsibilities of this job. Really, I would recommend going one step beyond, looking at the rest of the career site, looking at, the overall structure of whatever company it is, how that specific business works, do a little bit more digging and research than past just what's in this job description, especially before you're going into an interview. It is so, so important to do that extra step of research because it will really make you stand out when you can speak to your passion for the company and also your knowledge of the company and its structure and the way it works in an interview. So that will really, really help you stand out, and I'd recommend doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tara. We have some questions in the Q&A box that we want to just go through really quickly. And please forgive me if I say your name wrong, but we have someone named Donnie Joseph, who is a sophomore at Syracuse University. They asked, do you have any advice to truly stand out amongst the crowd during the interview phase of applying for a job?
That's a good question. I'm going to talk a little bit specifically because you mentioned internships and applying for summer internships, Donnie. Definitely in the interview stage, like I mentioned, doing research, especially in that recorded video interview stage, making sure that you're sitting down in a quiet space, that you're dressed professionally, that you're in the right headspace to do this interview, that you're, focused, you've done your research. We're going to ask in those interviews very basic questions about why NBCUniversal, what are you interested in learning more about? Make sure specifically, it's great to be open to everything, that's important. We want that in candidates, but it's also important to have a specific focus. So if we, see an interview and they just say, I'm interested in everything, I'll do anything you want. That doesn't really help us in trying to understand more about you or more about what you're interested in. So definitely come with a focus, come with an area specifically that you're interested in, and do that background research to really show off the work that you've done to prepare. Those things can really, really make you stand out.
Absolutely. Thank you for that insight. And another question from Janiyah Gaston from the SIUC chapter of NABJ. They're specializing in PR, but they've written a school paper, but they haven't done a lot of PR projects. How should they go about diversifying their portfolio?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about experience coming in a lot of different forms. So look and see if there's a place you can volunteer. Not all internships are paid, and that's fine. Again, you are looking to gain that experience. So, I would say even if it's something that you can do for 2 hours out the week or 5 hours, it doesn't have to be this full-time drawn out, job that translates to what you'll do next. Like I said, all experience is good experience, and to diversify, look in different ways, whether you are plugged into an organization, whether you're plugged into, a school on club on your campus, or even your like local church, anything that you can tap into is always a great opportunity.
Thanks so much, Nicole. And this final question I'll toss to you, Ayana. This is from Alexandria Perry, who says, what is your advice for early career journalists and recent graduates who are currently experiencing a career drought, even with their revised resume and some experience? And how do you go about not being overwhelmed by application rejections?
I would definitely say don't let rejection stop you from applying to another job. There's going to be someone out there who needs you. Whether, and sometimes it may not necessarily be the job that you want to end up at. My station, we have writers who a lot of the times, like if I call out sick, they're the ones who are stepping in to produce. So those opportunities are within the job that you already have. You just don't necessarily know it yet. So I would say, apply for a job that you want, but not necessarily the job that you want to end up at. And when it comes to a drought, I would say, a lot of people are hiring. You may not see it in the place that you're looking, but ask around to the people who you network with. Do you know anyone who's hiring? Can you let me know when you find out if someone is hiring? And just ask a bunch of questions to the people who you currently work with at your college. There are a lot of opportunities at your school as well that you can stay at your internship, things like that. So again, I would say the biggest part is don't let a rejection, stop you from applying to another job. And it's not a bad idea to, ask the person who you interviewed with for advice, maybe on your interview, especially if it's one of the smaller jobs. They might have a little bit more time to answer your questions.
And I just wanted to quickly chime in and say, your first job is not your forever job. So, look at that first job, say, hey, how can I excel here? And what skills can I take to that next step to being where I want to go? And then also just, do some informationals. We didn't talk about it as much, but, there's definitely value in just having conversations and getting to know someone who is where you want to be, how they got there, and learning their journey as well.
And just because a job rejects you doesn't mean that they maybe won't come back and, ask for you again, or maybe won't ask if you want the job that you applied for, but they'll say, hey, we put someone else in this position, but we have something else that we think that you maybe would fit in with. And, don't turn those jobs down either, consider them.
Absolutely. And I definitely just add that you can really take advantage not only of just like full-time roles or internship roles that you're interested in, but also like nonprofit organizations or foundations that have opportunities like the T. Howard Foundation, HBCU in LA, utilizing things like NBCU Academy that really helps with professional development. There's all different types of resources that you can maximize on and really build on. So with that, Ayana, Tara, Nicole, thank you so much for such an amazing conversation as we talked about kickstarting your career with NABJ and NBCUniversal. And again, for everyone here, please make sure you sign up for our talent community, which is in the chat. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.